week 2 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few defense DST units I look to start this week. The first one, the Los Angeles Chargers. They came off a great performance in week 1 versus the Vegas Raiders, and now this week a great matchup with the Panthers that just turned the football over a whole lot and barely can move the football down the field in week 1, losing 47-10 at the New Orleans Saints. In week 1 for this Charger team, only 10 points allowed versus the Raiders, 4 sacks, an interception, 2 fumble recoveries. And this week at Carolina, I think Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack early and often they're going to get to Bryce Young. And Bryce Young, he was the first overall pick in last season's NFL draft, and he doesn't look like he improved at all. I know this offense, they got Deontay Johnson, drafted Xavier Legette, but I don't think it's even going to pay off at all, at least in this ball game, because this Charger pass rush could get to the quarterback. And with Harbaugh at the helm, you know, he preaches defense, and he wants every man to go out there and give it their all, and he's a big motivator. So I think the Chargers, even a cross-country trip, going to the Carolina Panthers, go out there once again and have a good performance. Next starts the Indianapolis Colts. So as a 1-week filler and a streaming option, I think Indianapolis with a good matchup going to the Green Bay Packers could go out there and put in a performance. I know they got torched in week 1 versus the Texans, 29 points allowed, but they did have 4 sacks and a block kick. And like I said, they're going to Green Bay with Jordan Love's out 3 to 6 weeks with the MCL injury. And obviously that's a big issue because Malik Willis, who wasn't on the team a few weeks ago, traded from the Titans to Green Bay, is going to be the starting quarterback. And he's the quarterback that really hasn't had opportunities to throw the football down the field when he got chances with Tennessee last year where he would run the football a whole lot. And he's going to have no chemistry really with these players. I don't think they could build chemistry in a few weeks. So that just spells disaster, I believe, no matter what defense is playing this Packer team in the early going. So I think Indianapolis, I think they could get a few sacks in this game. I think they could hold Green Bay's offense mid-teens, low 20s. And Indianapolis, after coming off a tough loss, I think they go into Green Bay motivated, and the defense knows they got to play better. So this week, with a favorable matchup as a streaming option, I like Indianapolis as a start. The next start, the Seattle Seahawks. Last week I had Seattle as a start. They went out there and played a pretty solid game versus the Denver Broncos. 16 points allowed, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. And this week, a good matchup at the New England Patriots. I know the Patriots pulled off a huge upset at the Cincinnati Bengals, winning that game 16-10. But the offense, besides Ramondre Stevenson, Brissett, he went out there, he gave it his all, but they really couldn't move the football in the passing game, was New England. Stevenson had 120 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. And also the Patriots defense put their offense in good position where they settled for some field goals as well. So I think Seattle, they could go into Gillette Stadium, play a good game once again. They got one of the better secondaries in the league. And like I said, this Patriot team, they don't really have receivers that could make a big impact in the early going. They got a bunch of receivers, but none of them have broken out or proven so far in the NFL. So I think another favorable matchup for Seattle this week. The next start, the Houston Texans. Texans, a nice matchup this week. Chicago Bears coming to town in the home opener, Sunday Night Football in Chicago. They couldn't move the football as well in week 1. I believe their offense will get better, obviously, but Caleb Williams' first nationally televised ball game, it's going to be a big one for him. It's going to be a road game as well where I think they could be trouble. And this Texan defense, I know they gave up 27 points to Anthony Richardson and the Colts, but I think that offense, they're pretty much in sync. And they're division rivals, so those division games, anything goes down. So week 1 versus the Colts, 27 points allowed, 2 sacks and interceptions. So Houston, I think, could get pressure on Caleb Williams early and often. Like I said, the Tennessee Titans went out there. They did a good job. Caleb Williams didn't do much. DeAndre Swift, he only had 30 yards rushing on the ground. And Texans, if they get off to an early lead with their dynamic offense, they can make Caleb Williams and the Bears one-dimensional and uncomfortable. So I think Houston as an option this week is a good start. And the final start, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this Steeler unit, we know they go out there and they just grind it out. And when you got, obviously, T.J. Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick on that defense, it helps a whole lot. And Hayward as well. So the Steelers, week 1, they went in Atlanta and they caused havoc in that ball game. 10 points allowed, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. So Kirk Cousins, he took some big hits in that ball game. A lot of pressure they got on him in that one was this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And a good matchup week 2 at the Denver Broncos, where their offense with the young quarterback Bo Nix, I think, is going to have struggles all season long, where Pittsburgh, in this one, I think they're going to try to stop the run early and often. And that's what happened with Denver in week 1 at Seattle. They couldn't run the football, and Bo Nix had to throw the football a whole lot and much was that Bronco team until garbage time. They scored a couple late touchdowns. I believe this week Pittsburgh goes out there once again, has a good performance on the road at Denver, and their start this week. So that's a few defense DST units I look to start for week 2 of the fantasy football season.